Sorry, it was supposed to be to do that before the prayer.
All right. I will need them to just. Okay, where are you guys? Now, I need to share screen. So are you guys seeing? Oops, I got it. Let's see where is the? Okay. Okay. So what can you see there?
All normal. You share now can see your presentation.
Let me see if you see something entering now in your. Are you seeing people entering there?
People or your next slide? What do you mean?
No. Are you able to see probably not the participants?
Yes.
Are you able to see in that screen?
On my screen, yes.
No. Okay. So it's floating over the main screen in my computer. I'm just because I want to take it off my main screen here.
Okay, now I'm seeing just your slide presentation here.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the connection with God itself, and about the connection with God, about a bit about the faith and how can we connect with God, some suggestions. So these presentations will be a bit of conversation. I hope we have time to have some conversation. At the very beginning of this presentation, I thought everything is going to be a conversation, a dialogue, or a trialogue, or four-logue. But then the material start piling up, and I hope I will be able to go through and still keep the dialogue. So, just tell me something, right? I ask a question, guys, everybody, all these four more participated. Do you believe in God? Just tell me how sure you are that God exists. Don't need to justify. Just tell me if you believe. Do you believe in God? How sure you are that God exists?
Very, very sure.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in God, and I'm totally sure that God is the creator, and we are all loved by our creator.
Thanks, Angela. Anybody else? Don't need to justify. Just tell me if how sure are you that God exists? Anybody else?
I am sure God exists, but I have to be honest that through my life, a few times I kind of doubt it, but I don't believe, looking back, not that I don't believe that God doesn't exist, but like maybe I wasn't in tune with him.
Okay. I believe that Colleen also thinks that God exists, right? Yeah.
Yes, there is, of course, a concept that is so difficult to define.
Yes.
But all that is just is.
Yeah.
And
so
yes.
Yeah. So you sure God exists? All right. And as well, and Karina probably as well, and Carmen, everybody agrees that God exists, right? So that's okay. That's okay. So
now it's time you come in and say that God doesn't exist.
Sorry?
Now it's time to say, well, you're all wrong.
No. This is just to get everybody, the audience, all believe that God exists. So I show you an interesting perspective that remits us to the atheistic or agnostic kind of approach about the existence of God. Oh, look. It's quite funny. So this is a perspective, right? That a atheistic would say, do you believe in God? Yes. Why? And do you believe in unicorns? No. Why not? Because I haven't seen one. Well, then, yeah. So it's not really a logical exercise when you think about God. Obviously, lots of philosophers try to prove that God exists through logic. And even St. Thomas de Aquino, for example, come with the logical rationale saying that God, one of the proofs was that God is the initial cause in a cause and effect. Or yeah, so that's one example. But really, it's an spiritual and inspirational exercise. It's a connection, one would say. So what's going on here? My computer just sometimes it goes crazy. Sorry about that. So it's, as I said, it's a logical exercise, and it's not a logical, it's spiritual. So believe in God is like you believe in the sunrise. That someone said, not because you can see it, but because you can see all it touches. Okay, so through any more insights in terms of, I think Colleen said it is, Angela already said something about. Carmen, do you have any insight about the concept of God? No. Any? No. Okay. Anybody else? No. Okay. So let's keep going. There are different concepts of God according to different religions. Okay. So I will focus only in conceptions of God in a monotheist, which is single God, pantheist, which is another different way of seeing God as the center of the as the universe, or pantheistic religions. Pantheistic is also a different is when God transcends the universe, or of the supreme deity in the henotheistic religions. The henotheistic religions, they believe in more than one God, but they believe in one supreme deity. So it can extend to various levels of abstraction. So God is conceived sometimes as a powerful, omnipotent, human-like, supernatural being, or as in the deification of a esoteric, mystical, or philosophical entity or a category. God is also seen as, sometimes seen as the ultimate, or what they call summum bonum, which is the perfection, the final synthesis of all the good things, where everything converges to the perfection, or the absolute infinity, or the transcendent. The transcendent, it means it's beyond everything, and it's independent, or existence or being itself. okay, which is probably close to what Colleen said, is the being itself, or as the ground of being, or what they call the monistic substract. The monistic, the concept of monism is when God is in everything, and is the concepts of the onenesses, right? That very monistic, and that which cannot understand, and so on. So that's the concept of some religions, the different ways people see God. And then comes the concept according to Spiritism. It's interesting because, well, let's say that. So God is the supreme intelligence, the first cause of all things. This is in the question number 1, and also further on the Books of Spirits, it says that God is eternal, immutable, immaterial, unique, all-powerful, sovereignly just and good. So, and interesting that Spiritism refuses the simplistic idea of pantheism. And sometimes when some people talk about pantheism, they simplify, say, oh, pantheism is when the soul goes back to the origin. It goes back to the initial. But pantheism is a quite complex concept, and then there is some parts of the Spiritism from Kardec that expressed in the Genesis book, which is written later from the Spirit's book, that present a modern conception for God, more interactive with his creation, in a vision that was later presented by Pietro Ubaldi as a monistic view, a unitary organism with similar interaction of the spirit with the body. And the Kardec says, well, one of the ways of seeing God, the way the Spiritism see God, is like the same way, in the same interaction that the spirit does with the body. Each part of the body exists separately, but the soul knows them. The soul feels them. Every single cell it's felt by the soul, and it's independent of those components in the body, but interacts with them. And then the soul goes, and the body goes, and the soul remains. And so it's an interesting metaphor because God is the same. It's in everybody, it's in everything, but it's not everybody, it's not everything. So in this linkage, in this connection, it remains in its unity, in its own characteristics, but knows intimately everyone, every single component of its creation. That was a quite interesting and beautiful concept, right? So, with this in mind, I ask you I'll ask you an interesting question. I should say first that there is a statement that says, reality is what we take to be true. What we take to be true is what we believe. So what we take to be true is what we believe. What we believe is based upon our perceptions. What we perceive depends upon what we look for. What we look for depends upon what we think. What we think depends upon what we perceive. What we perceive determines what we believe. What we believe determines what we take to be true. And what we take to be true is our reality. So this statement is from Gary Zuva. And it's just to elaborate a way of saying perception affects reality. However, we perceive something will determine, however we perceive something, this will determine how we react in response to situations in life. If this is true, I want to ask an important question. How do you perceive God? I give you some of insights I had of possible ways of perceiving God. So here are some examples of how you can perceive God. But I will not prescribe how one should perceive God. This is a very personal and intimate relationship. Any comment about it?
Agree?
As soon as we lay definition, we are creating boundaries, and this in itself creates separation.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So it's one of the freedoms we have is the way we perceive God. This is part of the connection, So is also, is the way you perceive, it touches in another subject that I will try to discuss with you quickly, which is called faith. So faith means being sure that things we hope for and knowing that something is real, even if you don't see it. In other words, faith is confidence as to things hoped for, conviction as to things not seen. So faith is not presumption. Why? Why presumption? Any insight? Quick.
Presumption is like filling in a third side of a triangle. You don't see it, but you perceive or presume that the shape is a triangle, so you draw in the third line. Yeah. But the third line may go completely beyond anything that you can imagine. And so the presumption is misleading and misdirecting. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Yes. This is, in fact, the trust in ourselves alone. And it involves pride and can always bring, as I said, frustration, disappointment. It's a faith usually with no deity. So, true faith is humble, patient, tolerant, confident, and has resignation. Why? Because a person of faith trusts in God, in the great law that rules us all, in the fairness of the things, in love, not just in ourselves. So if you are trust that things are okay, God is just, and we're here to share experiences with others, to connect. That's what the true faith. So this involves humbleness, patience, tolerance. So we just need to have faith in God, and that's it. Well, not really. We need to exercise the love in charity that expresses in several ways: tolerance, humility, resignation, detachment, compassion, love. And I will give an example later of the exercise of faith with those components. That quite interesting, that I found myself. I didn't see that only after that work, that research I need to do that. I found this quite interesting story, but I'll get there. So there is a relationship between religion, faith, and spirituality. I think I have presented before, actually from another presentation, probably. I'm not sure if any of you have seen. I've just going to show now. That's interesting. So let me get here. So that's one missing: faith with work. Love is nothing. Without work, love is nothing. Or is there? I think there is a statement, I think in one of the books, that talks about, if I have faith and don't have love, nothing. I'm nothing. With all the knowledge and if I don't have love, it's nothing. So yeah, it's based on that principle, that love is the basis. So the relationship between religion, spirituality, and faith. We have to have a balance between religion, spirituality, and faith. And I will show what happens if this is not in balance. It's a bit of information, right? If you have imbalance with too much religion, we get into superstition. Rituals are not connected to trust, but rather fear. There is no relationship with people or God. You can see this in some religions, which the religion is used to rule, to have power over the people. If we have imbalance with spirituality, indirect feelings. So there is a feeling of oneness with God or creation, but there is no framework to create action or believe that action matters. And we have an imbalance with faith. It's called ideology. Blind trust in idea or group. It may look like religion, but the only thing of importance is agreement with a stated code. This is the home of fanaticism of all kinds. Okay, then I'll show you now how we get, so how many the time, with balance. When you have balance with that, right? On the religion side, we need rituals to hold meaning that goes beyond words. These rituals should offer the possibility of a connection to God and others while creating a place of rational trust. Then, if the balance with the spirituality, we need experience that lift us out of ourselves and give us glimpses of larger purpose for our lives. Yet, this experience needs to be anchored in our lives in a way that they become motivation to God's work. In our balancing faith, a balanced faith, we need to trust God, but we need to trust God in a way that is tested and authentic and allows for the possibility of doubt, questions, and growth. That I remember Kardec saying that you still need to study, you still need to question, you still need to see the other side or the different perspectives to be able to get the rationalized faith, the rational faith. Okay. Now, this so now I'm going to show you that picture. Anyone recognize this? This is the centurion of Capernaum. Capernaum. This centurion, okay, he had a servant that was the servant was dying. Okay. In fact, the servant was I think it's paralyzed. They have some disease, and he was agonizing and was dying, right? And the centurion, which was quite powerful centurion, he wanted to get Jesus to heal that servant, right? And there was some sort of lobby made by the powerful people from the rabbis that was trying to make this centurion worthy of a miracle, worthy of this word from Jesus. So they tried to put the word to Jesus saying, oh no, he is worthy. You should, master, to heal his servant because he's worthy. He actually builds synagogues for us. He is very, very worthy. Obviously, they were trying to get in the good side of the centurion, for the centurion trying to keep, assisting them with the synagogues, and and give good things for them. What happens is Jesus said, okay, I'm going to his house. And then when Jesus was in the middle of his journey to his house, well, the story at this point is a bit funny, because some say that the centurion meet him on his way to his house. Others says that the centurion sent some servants, okay, representing him, some other people, some soldiers representing him, to tell to Jesus. And now let's see that was the centurion himself that going there and met Jesus in the middle. It says, Jesus, I am not worthy that you go to my house, but just say the word and my servant will be fine. Jesus said, I think the words like, Jesus said to him, shall I come and heal him? The centurion replies, Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word and my servant will be healed. Well, then Jesus did not say any word, but said, truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. Here we had three components in that story that's quite beautiful: the mercy, the humility, and the faith. The mercy on the side of the centurion, because he was not asking for himself. He was asking for a servant. And humility, I'm just giving the end of story before talking about humility. The end of story was the centurion, or the ones he sent, went back to home, right? To their home, and the servant was better, was healed. So the humility was from the centurion saying and admitting that he was not worthy. He was not justifying, he was not trying to justify himself and make worth, but he said, I'm not worthy that you go to my house. So that was the humility. And also Jesus didn't say any word or didn't pronounce that the servant was going to be healed to prove to whoever was following Jesus that he was powerful. No, he didn't say anything. He just said, truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith, and left. Faith was recognized by Jesus, by the centurion. The centurion recognized in Jesus the power and authority as a representative of God. And in fact, the centurion said, if I say one word to my soldier, they tell go there, they will go there. If I tell to my servant, do this, my servant will say, my servant will do what I said. And Jesus, I believe that you have the power, because I understand my power. I have faith in your power. So that was the interesting thing about mercy, humility, and faith on that story. It's the centurion of Capernaum. So one of the components I was to show here is, in fact, the faith. It's the most important, but there was also the mercy and the humility. So rationalized, this brings us to rationalized faith. What is this? Let me see how the time going. Faith is not an ability to be exercised, but an attitude to be learned, received, and practiced. You don't, it's not something that you train, it's something that you exercise as an attitude. So it's a psychological and emotion phenomenon. It's an innermost and personal accomplishment that built from the authentic and perseverant desire to understand the surround of us. So when you have faith, you look around, you try to understand, you try to hang on that, believe that you have, you understand what's going on, that everything is all right, that love is around. And it's changing the way we understand and feel life. We only achieve this when we renew our way of understanding and feeling life. You start to to contemplate things that was before passed, due to our other attentions to material things, to gains, to trying to do things that are more materialistic than in fact related to our spiritual life, to spiritual side. So looking at a flower, admiring, contemplating a flower is something that's not to do with the material or trying to possessions. It's more to spiritual. So we need to change, and then we can understand someone suffering, and understanding what I learned from suffering. It's again another aspect of that exercise of faith. And the use of intelligence and observation. It doesn't come bundled with religious principles or ideas that we think are acceptable or convincing. The more intellectually flexible we are, the greater our chances to reach the kind of faith that comprehends and set us free. Free from thinking that we are doomed, that we don't have to whom to appeal, to ask, that we have, that our praise are in fact effective. Faith is inherent to all spirits and things. Is the faith that compels those whales that I saw in the Mornington Bay to go there, to procreate there, to do that journey. That's the faith. It's the guide for birds in the migratory migration journey. That gives strength to a tree to come out from their dormancy in the winter, and for some pets to find their way back home. It's the instinctive feeling and unshakable conviction in the fairness of the divine wisdom, right? It's the result of a slow but surely progress that determined by the willingness and determination of the spirit. It's not a crutch, right? To help us in difficult situations or assist us in acquiring indulgence or, or favors. It's bigger. A real enlightened faith. Look at this. A real enlightened faith is able in a situation, in any situation, sorry. A real enlightened faith is able in any situation to be 100% convinced that. That's what? Who guess? A real enlightened faith
God exists.
is able to, in any situation, to be 100% convinced that, say,
God?
What someone said, what did they say?
So what did you say?
God. God exists.
Anybody else?
God exists.
God exists.
I thought the same, that God exists.
Yeah. A real enlightened faith is able, in any situation, to be 100% convinced that God exists. Yeah, it's a good one. But what about that? Yeah, everything is all right.
God exists.
Faith is,
I was going to say it's all good, but
Yes.
everything is all right is okay too.
so faith is understand in uncomfortable situations that we are meant to be there for our own good. How many we said that? How many Colleen have said that? is this well-developed faith that recognize this, even if we still did not grasp why and the gain we are having at the moment, but we certainly are. Everything moves towards our true development and final true happiness and pleasure. We are towards the perfection, we are towards God. This faith is the one who believes in the love of God, exactly as you said. All right. So now comes the last part, and I hope I have time to say everything. Ways to connect with God. So I will present suggested ways to communicate with God without going to a church or without any specific religion at all. Okay? So, although a faith community, right, give us a significant support to our spiritual journey, so have friends like in past, you know, our community, one support each other is very good, but you don't need that as well. You can have a deep relationship with God on your own. To communicate with God, we need to stay present and open to the wisdom that is available to us all the time. So opening our channels to higher vibrations can be very simple and yet powerful. So, first one, love yourself. It's not about self-righteousness. It's not about I am the best. No, it's about recognizing a spirit living on us that is immortal, that being human is having flaws. As you love we love ourselves better, we will strengthen our abilities to love the others as well. The next one is, slow down. We live in a crazy, busy world, even with technology to assist us, but still busy. We need to slow down to connect to God, to hear what our spirit is saying to us. We need a quiet time to us, to do nothing. It can be a coffee. It can be a coffee, looking to the window, contemplating art, listen to sounds, birds, kookaburras, the life around us. I think Colleen is pretty much on that. Mesmerizing us with the creation, or even just a little nap, giving a chance to the spirits to connect. The other one is practice radical gratitude. It changes our heart. Noticing and being thankful for such as having a warm home to live in, the gift of friendship, knowing each other, being part of PESC, plenty of food, good health, many things that we take as granted. Another one is meditate. That the G tells us a lot about meditation. So that's another way of communicating with God. Meditation is any practice that helps us to quiet our mind and open it to God. The other one is very known as well, is prayer. I don't need to talk much about that. It's the conversation we have with God. Okay, so we need to quiet our mind and do this in a silence or spoken way. All right. Then another one that I likes a lot and have actually made this connection with us sometime, and it's quite good. Sing. You are meant to sing. It doesn't matter how you sound. The important is that you sing with your heart. If you had a music teacher, go there. But doesn't matter, don't care how you sound. The beautiful thing is singing. The other one is smell roses. This is quite, let's say, symbolic, okay? We need to slow down and notice what is going around us. Remember the Course in Miracles about contemplation. So if you go to a work in a park, for example, let's pay attention to the plants, the trees, insects, birds, animals, people you see walking. It's the beauty all around of us that we need to pay attention. The other one is, that's quite interesting. That's look directly into the eyes of people you meet. You have probably heard that saying that eyes are the windows of the soul. If you want to connect with someone, you need, at deepest level, you need to look into their eyes. I remember as well the Course of Miracles saying that. Remember that person. I mean, it goes into the, sorry, that's the next one about the Course of Miracles, but this one as well. So when people pierce eyes, sometimes surprising happens. We not only we see the person you are looking at, but we see the holy on them, the God on them in certain. So for a moment, we become one. The next one is see the purpose in every person you meet. So look for the goodness in each person you meet. And that was mentioned before. If you are discussing with someone, we imagine that person is able to smile. This person has moments that can be funny and can be lovely as well. So this is again another way of contacting with God, getting in touch with God, is when you look at the other person, you see the goodness on each the person. So some people, we need to have some effort, but the effort worth, right? And practice some acts, random acts of kindness. The truth is that kindness changes the world. And I think there is a phrase in Portuguese that says, what's the gentileza atrai.
Kindness.
Kindness attract kindness. I remember that become famous, this phrase become some sort of icon. Then find a cause that sparks the passion and energy for change. So let's find our mission in the world. Our heart will let us know when we found our inspiration. So again, let's be compelled to plant that seed that we committed to plant when we came to this incarnation, came to this life. Another one is reminds Jesus, let's practice love of neighbor. If this is a way of doing that, is see the God in every person we meet. This gives us the peaceful, the courage to forgive sometimes when it's difficult, to be benevolent, to be tolerant. So that's again, it's the practice, the love of neighbor. And another one is speak out for those in the fringes of society. This is more about the others, about fighting for the ones that the voices are not too loud or they are in disadvantage. So when we stand up against oppressions, violence, bigotry, racism, homophobia, or other degrading behavior, we are reflecting the light of God. we are not only reflecting the light of God, we are connecting with the holy in another person. And the last one, to finalize my presentation, is stay inspired. Stay connected to the holy mystery through our inner wisdom nature. And so staying inspired by this connection with God can help us to see the beauty in each person, as I mentioned before. It can help us to see there is another way of out of the fear and greed we experience too often in the world. Finding inspiration through our spiritual practices, practicing curiosity, listening to our inner wisdom can help to put us on a higher place of consciousness. Being in the higher plane of consciousness help us to find ways to live that are in the highest interest of the whole world. And the world needs hope and inspiration. And that's it. Thank you. So any more comments to complement that?
Thank you, Jax.
Thank you, Jax.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson.
All right.
Thank you, Jackson. Always beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice.
So if you could please just finalize with our final prayer, please, Jax.
Okay.
No, it is a bit warm, but I'm just falling asleep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
So let's all now empty our minds. Let's be receptive to the good spirits, to the benevolent spirits that are with us. Our mentor, spiritual mentor. Let's as well receive the light of Jesus. Let's feel God. Let's perceive that immense power, that love that inundate our soul, our mind, our life. Let's together, with this gratitude in our mind, with this willingness to help, this willingness to give goodness to who is needing, to the needed, to be able to see the beauty in others, to see the continuation of our love on the others. Let's create that energy, this powerful energy that's made of pure love and willingness, and send this love, send this energy to those in need, to those countries in war, particularly to Pakistan, for those souls that are really in need of rest, in need of hope, to the children, innocent, being victims of the lack of love, the lack of understanding, for the victims of the greed, victims of the lack of love, I would say. Let's as well send these energies for those who we have thought needed, as in our prayer box. So let's have them in our mind and imagine this power, this energy being delivered to them, to supply what they need, to get that peace, to get that comfort, to get that relief that we are intending to them. So let's think once more on those that we want to be the recipients of that love we have put together. And let's ask to our mentors, to ask our to our Jesus Christ, to our God, to give us the light, to make us able to distribute that light to where we go, to be able to inspire and set light on others, to be able to connect, to be able to be received, to be able to receive, to be able to give love, to be able to receive love. So let's be thankful to our Pedro Emmanuel and his team for this night, for the opportunity that we are here, the opportunity to be here, the opportunity to be back next week and the week after, and so on. To be thankful for this union, for this relationship, and strengthen it more, so we can help others, we can be able to shine in others and show them the way. So with the heart full of gratitude, let's ask permission to finalize our lecture today. Amen. So be it. Okay.
Thank you all for coming tonight. And we hope to see you next week. Just don't know if you're gonna be only by Zoom or back to our normal space, still on the edge of more info. All right, guys, have a lovely night and see you next time. Bye.
Thank
See you. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Thank
Jackson.
Bye.
you. Good night. Bye.
Good night.